you've been doing this weight loss thing for a while. You've been exercising, you've been eating on plan, and you've been consistently losing some weight, right? Maybe a pound or two a week. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what the heck happened? The weight's not coming off anymore. And it's been week after week after week, and you're trying to keep pushing. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna keep going because I wanna keep going. I wanna get this weight off. I wanna feel good. I like the way I'm feeling as the weight's going off. But eventually, you start to get a little discouraged. Like, why the heck isn't this freaking weight coming off? Like, I'm working out every day. I am eating like a freaking bird, and yet nothing's happening, right? This is what we call a plateau, right? Or it could be, right? So what I want to talk about in this video is, how do you get out of a weight loss plateau? How do you overcome it, right? So I'm going to give you 5 things that you can do to overcome a weight loss plateau to get you back on track. All right, stay tuned. Okay, hey, I'm Ileka Falette. I'm a mom of 4, and about 8 years ago, I lost 120 pounds. And I did it through low-carb keto eating, exercise, and lifestyle changes that sustained long-term. And so then I became a personal trainer and weight loss coach and mindset coach, and helping thousands of women do the same thing. Now I have a low cost community geared for women to live a healthy lifestyle so that we can do this health thing together, all right? Because let's get healthy together, all right? So you can check that out below. Comment if you're looking to create and sustain a healthy lifestyle, because I'm posting these videos, and to me it's super important to connect with women so that we can create a movement of generational health, right? Especially moms. That's super important for us to get healthy so we can help our kids get healthy. And that's a big thing for me. So I'd love to hear from you guys if this is something that you're doing, or if it's something that you actually need, all right? So anyways, let's get into this video, all right? So let's talk about these weight loss plateaus, because they can be really discouraging. Like, you've been doing this thing, you've been working so hard, and it feels like you're not seeing the results. And it's like, why the heck is this happening? All right, so I'm gonna tell you a couple of reasons of why it could be happening, right? So one could be that you've been dieting so long consistently, let's say 4 months, and when you've been dieting so long, sometimes the metabolism adapts, right? So meaning that it basically is like, oh, this is how we eat now. So I'm not going to like do anything crazy. Like, I'm not going to make any shifts. Basically, you're not going to lose any more weight because you just eat like this now. You exercise like this now. This is normal, right? So the body gets used to it, basically. The body's like, oh, this is life. So gonna stay here. Thanks. I love this. This is awesome. Right? Like, it gets there, right? So that's one of the options, one of the things that could be happening. Another is that your body could have started to shift and change as well. Like, maybe something that used to work for you, like if you, let's say you've dieted before, maybe you lost 50 pounds before doing like keto or something. And then now you're trying to do that again and it's just not working. You're like, what the heck? Why ain't it working this time? I lost 50 pounds in like 4 days last time on keto. Now it's like, been doing it, been trying, nothing's happening, right? So we're gonna talk about why this is happening now, why these plateaus occur, and what you can do to get out of them, okay? So let's talk about why it occurs. Basically, the body starts to adapt, right? Like, you aren't new to dieting. This ain't your first time. If you were new, if this is like your first time, you'd have dropped that weight overnight and been fine, right? But if you've been doing this a while, like if you've been on diet since you were 8 years old, right? Like me, or if you were on diets like for years and years, the past 5 years, you've tried paleo, keto, vegan, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, like you tried them all, and you're like, why isn't anything sustaining? There's so many reasons. It could be that none of those are right for you. It could be that you didn't do it long enough. It could be that your body shifted and was like, that's not how I'm gonna lose weight. Like, there's so many different reasons. But I'm gonna give you some things that you can do to work through it, right? So, and this is mainly for people who have been doing this, who've been dieting for a while, right? Whether it be, trying different things, or you've been on this same diet for 8 months and haven't seen anything shift in the last month. All right. So I'm gonna give you 5 things that you can do to get out of a weight loss plateau. All right. So number 1, let's say you are eating perfectly, right? Maybe you're doing low carb and you have been pristine. You're counting your macros. You're eating this exact same macros every day. You're getting enough protein in, enough carbs, enough vegetables in, enough, fats in, all the things, right? And staying at a caloric deficit. And you're like, what the heck is happening? Well, it may just be that it's time for you to do a shift. So the first thing you can do is look at your movement patterns, right? If you are doing all this perfect eating and you've been walking, that's been your main exercise, right? And maybe it's just walking around the neighborhood, maybe it's time to shift it. Maybe instead of walking around the neighborhood, you start walking up hills, right? Maybe instead of just walking around the neighborhood, maybe you start incorporating some resistance training. So every time you get to a corner, you do 20 squats. So now you're at least getting some resistance training in. Every time you get to a straightaway, you do 10 push-ups or something. Even if it's against the wall or against a pole or something, right? Maybe every time you get to another spot, you do some jumping jacks, right? So now you're incorporating some different types of movement. When you shift in that way, the body is like, oh shoot, okay, sis, you're doing something different, right? And so now that you're doing something different, the body wants to do something different. So now all of a sudden, you've been on a plateau for the last 8 weeks and you see a shift, you lose 2 pounds because now you've incorporated something different into your exercise. You shifted your exercise. So just adding something different like incorporating squats, push-ups, and some jumping jacks in that same walk, you could literally see a shift a lot quicker. If you're a little more advanced, maybe you're doing HIIT workouts every single, 4 days a week or whatever, and you've been doing this and you're seeing these major plateaus, you could shift still, right? Maybe HIIT workouts, maybe instead of doing HIIT 4 days a week, you do HIIT 2 days a week. And then the other 2 days a week, you do a split series, right? So you do cardio for 30 minutes and then you do strength training, no cardio in there for 30 minutes, right? Upper body one day, lower body the next day. And that is what you do. And you try that for a few weeks because the body feels that shift. It starts to take note, right? And it's like, okay, let me do something different. And you'll start to see some different results because the body gets used to things quickly, right? And so once it's used to it, you've got to shift it up, right? And this doesn't mean that you go from, every 2 weeks you go from paleo to vegan or whatever, or every 2 weeks you go from this workout to first you're doing HIIT and then you're like, forget HIIT, I'm not doing that no more, I'm only doing swimming. It doesn't mean that you have to completely get rid of what you're doing. It's making some tweaks, right? Because if you completely get rid of what you're doing, and you start doing something 100% different, it's hard to understand what was actually impacting the plateau. So you make small tweaks along the way. And that's why you would tweak the exercise first, right? Or, whatever. You could do whatever first, but tweak one thing first and then tweak something else, right? So the first thing I'm mentioning is exercise. So you tweak that exercise and see how it impacts things, all right? So that's number 1. Number 2, since we're into it, is changing the eating, right? In situations where we're seeing plateaus is we tend to eat less. We tend to be like, shoot, I can't handle this whole, plateau thing. Like I'm tired of not losing weight. So girl, I'm about to just fast for the next 6 months, right? Or I've been at 1,500 calories. I'm gonna go down to 1,000 calories a day. I'm done. I'm not about to plateau anymore. I'm tired of it. And so what happens when we do that is the metabolism actually drops way down, right? And so now it's like, yeah, you lose weight. When you cut your calories that drastically, you also have to be cutting your protein that drastically. And you guys know how I feel about protein. If you've ever watched any of my videos, right? You've got to be getting your protein in. So when you cut your calories that drastically, you cut your protein that drastically. And now you're cutting into your muscle mass. So instead of being able to sustain your muscle mass, which helps to burn fat, helps to keep you satiated. Protein helps keep you satiated. Your muscle mass helps you to burn fat, and it also protects your bones, right? So when you have higher muscle mass, you're less likely to like break bones and things like that. So when you're doing that, when you cut your nutrients drastically, you're going to be cutting your protein drastically likely. You're going to be cutting your fat drastically. And so you overall start to impact your metabolism. So that's not necessarily the thing to do, especially long term. Like you don't want to go from I've been eating 1,500 calories a day for the last 6 months to now for the next 6 months I'm eating 1,000 calories, because you will drastically affect everything. And when you go from eating that 1,000 calories to try and go back up to 1,500 or 2,000, you'll start gaining weight. And then you're gonna be mad that you gain weight, and you're like, why is this happening? Well, you lost muscle mass. And so now your body isn't burning fat as fast. And now when you're gaining weight, you're gonna gain it faster because more fat's you don't have the muscle mass to be burning it, right? Your metabolism's lower. And then on top of that, it's gonna be harder to lose the weight because your metabolism is now much slower, right? So don't allow that change in eating to be a drastic cut in calories. What you can do is shift what you're eating and how you're eating, right? So maybe incorporating intermittent fasting. You could still be getting that 1,500 calories a day, but now you're giving your body and your blood sugar levels more time to be sustained, right? So you could, instead of maybe you're eating all day, maybe you're eating most of the day or whatever, your breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 6 or 7 or whatever, maybe a snack later, right? So you're eating from 8 to 9 p.m. or whatever. Maybe you now go into intermittent fasting and you reduced how often you're eating. So now your eating window maybe goes from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. rather than 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever it is, right? So you get to look at how you're eating and you get to shift like that, or even shifting what you're eating. So maybe you're on a 1,500 calorie diet, but you're doing like a balanced, like you're like, okay, I'm getting some protein, some fat, I'm just watching what I eat kind of thing. And you're like, I want to get a little more strict. Maybe you go something closer to like a lower carb or a keto or, something like that, where you're prioritizing protein now, right? And that helps you to shift as well. So the second thing is really looking at how you're eating and shifting the way that you eat. It could even be, and this gets into the next one, it could even be increasing your calories slightly, or increasing them on occasion, right? So that's where we get into number 3. Third tip for getting over a plateau is something that we call diet breaks, right? So diet breaks is basically when you have strategic breaks in your diet, right? So if you've been on a diet where you're consistently eating less than what your body needs for the day, so to speak, right? Let's say that your resting caloric intake should be somewhere like 2,000 calories a day. And you have been consistently eating 1,500 calories so that you can eat at a deficit, which is like a 25% deficit, so you can lose weight. Well, now your body has gotten used to eating at 1,500 calories a day, and you've been doing it for the last 6 months. So now your body's like, what the heck is happening? And so it like stays at that level. Now it's like if you eat at 2,000, your body's like, oh shoot, what's happening, right? So basically, or you go on vacation, all those things. So a diet break is being strategic, like, okay, every 2 weeks of this, and then you can do this as a part of overcoming the plateau, but every 2 weeks, I take a week and I eat at a normal calorie level. So while still prioritizing protein, remember, because that's important. What that means is like, I stay 1,500 calories for these 2 weeks, and then 7 days I go back to 2,000 calories. Then I go back to 1,500 calories for the next 2 weeks, or even 4 weeks, and then I take 7 days and do 1,500 or do 2,000 calories. And what that does is it shakes things up for the body. The body's like, oh, wait, what? You're eating 2,000? What's happening? Oh, we're back to 1,500. And it's like, it's almost like it shakes it up in a way that the body actually continues to lose weight. And most people, when doing this, they actually don't gain any weight during the 2,000 calorie time, and they lose even more weight during the caloric deficit again, because their body got to like catch up again. It's almost giving the body a chance to say, oh, you know what? I can eat 2,000 calories and still be healthy as long as I'm getting my protein in and I'm exercising still. So you don't stop doing the other things, and you go ahead and add in taking these like 7 days off type thing, right? Because it's so funny. Have you ever noticed when you've come back from when you've gone on a cruise or something, right? Let's say you leave for a cruise and you're 200 pounds. You go on your cruise and you're eating, you're not overdoing it. You're not going crazy on the cruise, but you're eating a regular healthy amount, right? But still more than what you would normally eat. You come back and you've gained like 3 pounds and you're like, oh, okay, gained 3 pounds. That's okay. At least it wasn't 10, right? So then you come back and you get back to your caloric deficit. Now you're back at 1,500 and you get on the scale and you're at 197 next time you turn around. Like a week and a half later, you're like, what the heck happened? It's because your body got a chance to it's like you shook things up again by taking that diet break, right? Because your body starts to slow down when it stays at that caloric deficit for too long. So sometimes you need a bit of a shake up. And that's what a diet break is. So that's the third tip, is trying a diet break here and there, right? But being strategic about it, incorporating it in the right way. All right. I'll do another video specifically on diet breaks and how to do it too. All right. So anyways, so that's the third tip. So the fourth tip in terms of getting over plateau, because let's say it's like, okay, I changed my eating, I changed my exercise, nothing is really happening, right? And then I feel like I did this whole diet break thing and I'm still not seeing anything. Well, then I would ask you, are you writing down what you're actually eating? And the reason I say that is because sometimes we think, unless we're eating the exact same thing every day and we've already written that down once before and we're like, okay, I know I'm eating exactly this amount, I'm measuring my food, I'm doing all the things. Unless we're doing that, we really don't know 100%. We can't be 100% sure, because the brain likes to say sometimes, well, I could put a little more on the plate this time. What if I have a little more piece of, what if I have a little more rice this time? Or add a little more cheese to this, right? So it's like not measuring, right? Which, I mean, as a healthy lifestyle, you don't want to always be measuring. But when you hit a plateau, it's a good time to say, okay, let me do some recon, right? Let me see what I'm doing. So you go back and you start to literally write down. You go back to tracking everything that you're eating so that you can see and ensure that you're actually getting in the appropriate amount of protein, fat, carbs, calories overall, and that you are actually doing what you say that you are doing, right? Because sometimes the brain can play with us a little bit, so go back to tracking and measuring. And do that for a few weeks just to see, because you want to ensure that you're sustaining and that you are actually doing the thing you said. And when you do go back to tracking and seeing it, it almost like resets the mind to say, okay, now this is what 4 ounces of protein looks like, or this is what a half a cup of rice looks like, versus let me just go and put a few scoops on there. It's a little different, right? So that's number 4. Getting back, tracking for a few weeks just to see where you are. You don't have to track forever, but it's a nice little reset and re-gauge on what you're doing, all right? So the 5th tip for getting out of a plateau is detoxing. And the reason that can be important is sometimes we're trying to figure out what is going on, and it's really that the body is trying to process things. Maybe we're eating something that we shouldn't be. And detoxing could be anything. I don't necessarily mean drinking the teas and pooping, right? I don't necessarily mean that. So detoxing could literally mean food elimination, right? So eliminating certain foods. It could be where, you eliminate those seven foods that most people have some sensitivity to. There's a woman called JJ Virgin. She's actually one of my mentors. And she wrote a book several years ago called The Virgin Diet. And she talks about 7 foods that are impacting most people. And many people have some sensitivity to it. So you can go back and look at, let me eliminate these foods. And it's almost like an elimination detox to see what is actually impacting me, right? Because sometimes these foods are adding to inflammation, it's adding to like some gut issues, it could be adding to like making you hold on to weight, like all kinds of things, right? So looking at that, and it actually leans into food sensitivity. So when you're looking at those detoxes, right, it's not always just like a ton, like pooping a ton, but it's really just recalibrating and seeing what your body is doing. So you could do that through elimination, or you could do it through like one of these, 3-day detoxes, like a master cleanse, or like one of the teas or whatever. But if you're doing that, you want to always be conscious of how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and what you're looking for, right? And sometimes that could actually help to reset the gut or the body, and because it could be a gut detox, right? And there's tons. I have a friend called the Gut Health Bestie, right? There's lots of people who do different gut resets, and that actually could help you overcome a plateau as well. So I wanted to ensure that I shared that as well. So it could be an elimination or a gut reset, or even a juice detox, right? Different things that could potentially help you detox the body to get out of the plateau, right? So those are my 5 tips to getting out of plateau so you can actually feel good and really continue to see results on this journey. Because sometimes a plateau can be super defeating and make you feel like, forget it, I'm done, this ain't working, pass me the pizza, pass me some brownies, right? So I hope that helped. Comment below if you have any great tips on getting through a plateau. And if you're looking for a community to do this healthy lifestyle together, you can go to my Fit Mommy Makeover community, check it out, and let's get healthy together. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe. Talk soon.
Don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to watch my mom's next video.